Our second discussion in this segment of Lacan Discourse and Social Change, Mark Brocker's book, will focus on the different ambiguities, 3 different ambiguities in the registers. Although Lacan did not put it exactly in this way, Mark Brocker has developed a system based on Lacan's teaching that is completely accurate and very helpful for those of us working in the field of social change, and especially in the theoretical linking of the psychoanalysis to praxis or practice, which is action in the real world. We are looking at how texts and how teachings can change people, and how people like scholars and teachers and social change agents of other persuasions might be able to use theory to affect what happens in life. Let's look at the bottom of page 19. I promised in the last segment on Brocker to return to the 3 ambiguities, and I want to look at this paragraph very carefully with you. The key to understanding desire in the subjective economy and its cultural aspect can be found in Lacan's dictum that desire is desire of the other with the big O. The 3 crucial ambiguities in this formulation index 3 bases for distinction within the field of desire. First, so the first ambiguity, desire can take the form of the desire to be or the desire to have. And we're going to treat the desire to be with the term narcissistic, and the desire to have will be referred to with the term anaclitic. Okay, so first, desire can take the form of either the desire to be or the desire to have, corresponding to Freud's distinction between narcissistic and anaclitic libido. And now I'm on the top of page 20. The narcissistic form of desire manifests itself as love and identification, while the anaclitic form involves desire for a jouissance that is fundamentally indifferent to the well-being both of oneself and the other person. So the idea is to have something doesn't always involve caring about whether what we have, the object of our desire, benefits from that desire or not. That's what it means to say it's in that kind of love, that kind of desire is indifferent to the other person. And such as in the case of, pornography, people can use other subjects as objects and not really care whether it benefits them or not, as long as it benefits the person who desires, right? So, but that's not to always add a value judgment to it, but rather to understand that to be the object of one's, of the other's desire, or to have love are different. Second, and here's the second ambiguity, the word of functions in Lacan's formulation as both subjective genitive and objective genitive, indicating that the other can be either the subject or the object of desire, a distinction that Freud formulated as the difference between active and passive aims of the libido. And third, here's your third ambiguity, the other can be either the image of the other person in the imaginary register, or the code constituting the symbolic order, or the other sex, and or the objet a, or object a, sometimes called the objet petit a, little a, as opposed to the big A, or in English the O, little other versus other with the capital O. The objet a, or the object small a, of the real. Okay. The respective objects of desire in these 3 registers are thus images, signifiers, and instances of that magical object or special substance that Lacan calls the objet a, or object small a. We can thus identify 12 basic forms of desire operating in discourse, 4 in each of Lacan's 3 registers. And you remember in one of our Adobe Connect sessions, I asked you to imagine that the 3 overlapping circles signifying or representing in my whiteboard configuration the 3 registers, imaginary, symbolic, and the real, could be looked at from the top as if you were looking down from an airplane on to the top of 3 silos, and that those 3 silos were cylinders, and each one was running perpendicular to the earth. So that image gives us a way to understand this. In each of the 3 silos, we can imagine each of these forms of desire. And that's where we get 12. We have 4 forms of desire in each of the 3 silos or registers. And that visual image might be helpful as you try to make sense of this. Remember that these are metaphors I'm using. They are not meant to be taken literally, but to help you understand how you might formulate them, and you might come up with your own ways of representing these complex ideas. So let's look at the 4 kinds of desire. There is passive narcissistic desire, and I will really encourage you to go deeply into each of the in-depth explanations that Brocker provides in this chapter, which we won't have time to do in a video lecture completely, but which you have access to and perhaps will be able to make more of now that you have this overview. So passive narcissistic desire is the desire to be the object of the other's love, the other with the big O, like God, society, nature, that other that we hope will love us. Passive means that we want to be the recipient of that love, and narcissistic, it means we want to be that as opposed to have it. So we want to be loved by the other with the big O. Okay? So 2, active narcissistic desire, and this is an identification with the lover or can be a lover, the other as a lover. It's an identification or love or devotion for the other, big O, God, society, nature, whatever we depict as that which bears our meaning for us. Active narcissistic desire is our active desire to be that, to identify with, or to love as our love for God. The 3rd kind of desire is active anaclectic desire, and this is the desire to possess the other as a means of jouissance. Jouissance is a French word that means pleasure, but it means more than that. It's that which is left over and is a surplus after desire is enacted. And there is a lot of complex explanation about this further in this chapter. But jouissance is that which is something more. The part that is left over as a surplus after someone seeks what they desire. And we know that desire is not fulfillable, so the seeking itself can never quite fulfill the desire. And 4, passive anaclectic desire. And this is the desire to be desired, the desire to be desired or possessed by the other as the object of the other's jouissance. So there are 4 kinds of desire, and each of them occurs in each of the 3 registers, the imaginary, the symbolic, and the real. So imagine those silos, and each one of those silos having these 4 kinds of desire in them, and you could then understand why Brocker says here there are really 12 kinds of desire. Now I want to talk about the OGA a little bit.